Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another show of a street man and a Christian woman. And tonight's topic is sharing my man, which reminds me of time earlier in our marriage when I didn't even realize that I was sharing myself with other people and taking away time away from my lovely wife. So now, many years later, I hope to be able to share that experience with someone and maybe possibly make them realize on what they missed out on by sharing themselves with others. Like in my situation in the beginning, I still had some buddies that I was running with, and I put them before her. I go to work and hang out with my buddies and unaware of my actions of just sharing myself with other people that I could have been sharing that time with her. Then I share myself with my mother. In many situations today, there's not a lot of men that we have, so men find themselves in positions where they're around a lot of women, and they need to share themselves with those women because they're the man in their life. May not be another man around for a while. So you find yourself sharing yourself with other members of your family. For me, it was more so my mother. You know what I mean? I love my mother, so I would share myself with her in the beginning of our marriage. It took till time for me to grow, and that's the message that I'm trying to teach to women today, that the man will grow eventually where he'll understand what his priority is and realize that the time that he was sharing with other people, that he should be sharing with her. And that's what I learned. It just took a little while for me to learn it, but I learned it, and me and Kenyatta is doing great at this time. And I'm gonna let Miss Kenyatta speak and say her piece, and then I'll come back and close. So on to you, Miss Kenyatta.
Yes, indeed. There was a time in the beginning of our relationship that my husband shared himself with his friends. Every Friday night was with him and his boys. And I had to take a back seat. That's just the real. I was the backseat wife. And before I go any further, I would like to say I thank my mom because I watched my mom share herself with my dad's mom as well. My mother had to share my dad, who's not here no longer, and take time to rotate having my dad home over my grandmother. My grandmother wanted him there, and my mom needed him at home, and my mom had to balance it and share. And I did the same thing in this relationship. And I just really want women to know, not all women approve of what I did. You may not like what I did, may not even like me, because most women don't want to share their man. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to tolerate it. And I did tolerate it. It was uncomfortable. It was not good at times. But I learned to work through it. And I read Proverbs a lot in the Bible. Proverbs in the Bible taught me how to be patient and build my relationship with God versus worrying about how long He gonna be with me. How come He ain't spending every minute with me? And I'm woman enough to say I still do share my man with his mom. I really do. And it don't bother me because his heart is with his mom first. And that's what, I had a woman come up to me and ask me that. How do you deal with that? How do you cope with him loving his mom over you, especially black women? Black mothers don't give up their sons, even if you're married. And as long as we've been married, his mother is first. I'm second. And I'm not afraid to say it because that's just where his heart is. And he had to grow out of that process because he saw the toll that it was taking on me. He was bonding with his mom and not with me. And she didn't like me. But now she does. And it took a lot of time to deal with that because no mother, to me, wants their son gone to another woman besides the mom. That's just the straight out truth. And the one thing that I had to deal with was I had to share him with his boys hanging out with the boys. Then it went to making money all the time. Business, 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 money, money, money. That was the issue. And then it went to his family. And I had to learn how to deal with it because we were like strangers. They came first, we were last. And the one thing we have to understand, we have to acknowledge people and let people know, even though we were married, he didn't totally belong to me. I had to let women know I share my man. And they had a problem with that. You really share your man? Yes, I do. And holidays. In the holidays, we go over his mom's for Thanksgiving. And then I have mine at home. I had to share the holidays. There are things that I didn't like that they did. And there are things they didn't like about me. But we end up compromising and making it work. Because at the end of the day, it was about his heart. Sharing the holidays, taking turns, rotating. And the one thing you have to understand is about his heart. His heart means you don't want to crush his heart, making him choose between his wife and his mom or his friends and that. He had to grow away from the friends and realize I got to put that same time with my wife versus my friend. And the one thing that I had to learn to do, I stayed in the Word. I stayed in the Word. And the Word just told me to wait. And wait in ways I really didn't want to. But I'm glad I did because I didn't want him to just pick me over his mom. I really didn't. And I'm glad that the Word taught me just to be patient and perseverance and understand that there's going to be a time where he's going to be totally mine. And I'm just honored that I did it the way I did it. I didn't force him. I didn't pressure him. And I didn't demand him. You better choose me or your mom. No, it didn't go like that. I just rotate. He talks to his mom on the phone and I have him at night. And I'm okay with that. And like I said, a lot of women don't approve of it. A lot of women wouldn't tolerate that. But that's what I had to do. I had to do a lot of suffering and sacrificing and giving up to have a family. Because that's what it took. It took for me to share my man with his mom and with his family. It wasn't like he just totally just gave himself to me. No, it wasn't like that. But just keeping it on the real, I sacrificed so much because I wanted family more than anything. More than money, more than looks, more than popularity. I wanted family. And I had to share my man with his mom to have a relationship with him. And that's just the real. And I'm glad I did because it made me have a healthier relationship. And it put him in a place where he ain't got to choose. He just learned as he grew in a relationship what to do with his mom, what not to do with his mom. And I had watched my own father, I thank my dad as well, because he ended up having to confront my grandmother about him spending time with my mom. And I knew in time my husband had to do the same thing for us. And he did. And I'm glad I learned, when you have parents that show you things and you watch them go through it, you got to learn one thing. What you learning from your parents, you can pass on to your partner. And my husband, he puts me in a priority now. He learned to put business to the side now. He learned to put his family to the side now. And that's what makes it work. And I'm glad I'm willing to share this wisdom with someone, with the world. Thanks for letting me share. And back to you, Mr. Delgado.
Okay, and in closing, I'd like to say that the topic of share my man is probably topics that many of couples are going through, but you can work through it. It just takes time and allow the person to grow without forcing them to make a decision on what's their priority in their life. In time, as a man, I'm sure that he will grow and understand where his true priority is. It comes naturally with being a man. It's just things that men go through because we move maybe just a little slower than you women. But as we say at the end of the show, love, peace, and togetherness. And good night.